Welcome once again to the Fulcrum. Out and about today in the country. One of my favorite spots I've been coming to since the mid-1980s, a place called Campbell's Orchards. They've expanded over the years, small family operation, now employing probably 20 or 30 people altogether. As you can see, opening new fields of cultivation. There are all kinds of farm produce, extensive orchards. They have trails going back for the public, hay rides for the kids. In fact, my first venture here was to go to a hay ride as a young man in his mid-20s. Got my direction mixed up. I never got out here. But it's great to get out, breathe the fresh air. There's one thing during this whole lockdown madness we've been through is to learn to appreciate the simple things that we could still do. To get outside and walk about, nice cup of hot chocolate, have your backpack with some lunch in it, because there's so much you could not do any longer. Even some of these places were barred off. At one point early on, they were talking about stopping people on the highway, even restricting where they could drive. I remember back then, I just picked up a long-held dream. Picked up a sports car as part of a thank you gift for downsizing my old house and getting the kids launched. Lo and behold, a couple of weeks after I get it, everything locks down. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. And I did drive around down through this area in Prince Edward County. It's almost scary to behold. It was like one of those old Clint Eastwood westerns where there's an empty street, a burrow, and a tumbleweed, and no people. But thankfully now, as this is the first day of spring, in my part of the world, in Ontario, Canada, tomorrow is Mask-Free Day. Just last week, the mandates were shut down. For the first time last night, I actually went out to a pub, had a couple of beer and some chips, and listened to some live music. The place wasn't as busy as they thought it would. Still a lot of people, I suppose, that are a little bit nervous about going out in the public. Myself, not so much. I figured that with something that managed to circle the globe in a matter of about 2 weeks, after 2 years, if I hadn't been exposed to it, well, chances were pretty good that I wasn't going to be now. But thankfully, that should all be history soon. Great getting out like this. It's educational too. As you can see here, I know it's backwards for you, but it says a glass of cider equals 4 apples. Good to know. And that apples are also a member of the rose family. I've heard of rose apples, but that's a new one on me. Anyway, the best part about getting out like this, as I mentioned in the previous videos, is a chance to clear your head without all the distractions that are thrown at us by social media, and think about your own situation. I know many of us were so distracted up until the last pandemic, we really didn't have time to think about much of anything. The trials of daily living, making a living, were at the forefront. Every day, every minute, there was something to do, somewhere to go, things that had to be done. But actually be forced to sit down, time on your hands, and running out of things on Netflix to watch, forced you to actually think about your situation, your life, where you were, and maybe where you were going to go. A reevaluation. I know I did that several years ago when my marriage ended. All of a sudden, your whole life changes to something you weren't prepared for. Whole change of priorities. I like to think about getting your ducks in line. A number of them. Physical, mental, spiritual, and more particularly, in some cases, financial. But you can't do all of them at once. I found the easiest one is the one I'm doing right now. Getting out in the country. Breathing the air, getting the exercise. Get the oxygen to the brain, get the little gray cells working. Works wonders. So if you can tackle one at a time, that's a good one. I know for some of us, if you're in financial straits, maybe you can't afford to go to the gym. Maybe you can't afford to join clubs and things. Or maybe you can't afford to get that kayak you were hoping to get out in the open water. I know my journey started on an old racing bike I picked up at a Goodwill store for $40. Actually, I had to borrow the $40 to get the bike. But it had been rebuilt. And somebody had spent a lot of time and money redoing it. And since I got that bike in 2011, I've put over 40,000 kilometers on it. I quit counting at 40. I get out on that thing every day. Not so much because it's exercise, but because I actually love doing it. Getting way back on the property here now. It's going up a hill. You can see the orchards in the background. I haven't been quite back this far before. It should be interesting. They have a nice mature wooded section up through here. Trees that hadn't been logged out in quite a number of years. I should have wore my hiking boots, I think. Anyway, there's the hill I'm going to go up. Yes, I was saying the physical one is the first one you should really work on. It doesn't have to cost a lot. The rest of them you can work on one at a time. But the thing is, with the physical aspect of it, any kind of stress you're feeling takes us back to our old system, our caveman physiology, fight or flight. Dangerous animal came along, you had a choice of fighting it or running away from it. Wasn't a lot of choice. But in modern life, where you're trapped where you are, you don't have those opportunities to fight or run. You're stuck there. That adrenaline that gets into your system, you have to burn it off somehow. And one of the best ways I know is exercise. As I'm getting right now. This is quite a steep grade. And you can see how they're clearing out the forest here. It's sugar bush now. They're constantly expanding their operations. Not just cider anymore, now it's going to be maple sugar. Maple syrup. It's beautiful. Now you can see way down the hill. Beautiful spot. Not a soul here either. I'm gonna have a little sit down here and have my hot chocolate. And enjoy the view. They also have an incredible bakery here. Butter tarts, homemade bread, some of the best pies, short of what my mom used to make. Apple cider, berries. During the season you can get seasonal vegetables, of course, pumpkins, carrots, potatoes, anything you can think of. Good prices. People come from miles around here. It's quite a day trip for a lot of people who moved here outside the larger centers of Ottawa and Toronto. Kind of the gateway to Prince Edward County, where we have all the vineyards. They might even have some grapevines started around here as well, but I haven't spotted them yet. Got a breeze blowing now out of the northwest. So quiet. So places like this are about where it isn't going to cost you anything to put on your running shoes, your hiking boots, throw on your backpack, thermos of coffee or soup, put your favorite tunes on, put a smile on your face. Thank God you're having another day. Well, I'm going to sit here, finish my hot chocolate, and hike on back, and maybe pick up some pie. So in the meantime, get out, think clearly, take time to enjoy what's available to you. Not everything costs money. This is Mike from the Fulcrum. Have a great day.